Good evening, my friends. Let's see if we can get everything working. Yes. There we go. Evening. Seems like we have video. I'm hoping there's sound also. I have this. I'm just having the heat pump on a little bit to get some heat in here. So if you hear a lot of background noise, it's not something that's going to last. It's just in the beginning. So I hope everyone's having a nice evening. I was thinking today we have the guided meditation today, and I thought that we'd focus a little bit on time, how we perceive time, and how when we observe time, it's kind of interesting because we have a hard time observing just this, like I call this slice of now, because it feels like we have this wide area of now when we're actually just perceiving one slice of now. So in the meditation, I think I did this, I can't remember if it was last time or the time before, where I tried a bit to get you to focus on, like I said, every slice of now. So we'll do that a little bit in the meditation because it's a really powerful way to get more present in the actual observation and not be so spread out in time, if that kind of makes sense. I hope it does. Who do I have with me today? Is that any one of the old people? I almost said. Not that you're old people, but people who are here regularly. Or if you can't type, that's fine as well. Mindful Mama, hey, nice to have you back. Always nice to have you here. I really enjoyed last time, by the way. It was such a nice conversation afterwards with all the questions and just things kind of unfolding. It's very interesting when you guys ask questions and there's discussion starting up and then people start thinking about things, and it's just fun to see how the conversation carries itself. And it's, for me, very, very easy to do it then, because then I get questions and then that makes me say something and then people wonder something about what I said and it just naturally flows into something else. So that's, for me, the most enjoyable and easiest to do is when people actually ask questions. And especially when you question what I say, kind of, so it's not just me saying stuff, but you actually wanting to find out more and wanting to understand what I'm trying to say, because in the end, it doesn't really matter that you listen to what I say. The important thing is that you actually try to do something with what I say and try to understand that in some way. For those of you who are new, we have about 5 minutes now before. I was a little bit late today. But 5 minutes when everyone gathers, and then we sit for 20 minutes. After those 20 minutes, we have a question and answer for those who want to ask questions. Unless I'm streaming in private mode like I accidentally did the other week, and then there was no one here, and I was wondering, what is no one listening? So funny, because usually there's always someone dropping by because YouTube pushes it to lots of people. But yeah, I had streamed in private. Esperanza is here. Tim, right? I keep forgetting, but I think it's Tim. I missed last sessions. Glad to be back again. Nice to have you here. Everything's working. Happy to hear that. I'm still having issues with the actual streaming gear. Something last time I had these stripes, and this time there's a program called OBS. It's just the program that fixes the video and audio so I can send it to YouTube. That just, I don't know, it wouldn't let me show my camera today, so I want to have that done so I can just sit down and 5 minutes before and then have everything working. But still, not that easy. It's getting there. So I'm gonna turn off the fan. There you go. It's nice and warm in here, and so if you turn off your telephones, at least I'm gonna do that, and put yourself in a position where you want to sit when we meditate. It's okay to sit up. You can lie down. You can even stand up. It's actually an interesting experience to stand up and meditate. It's a lot of different feelings when you stand up compared to sitting down. And also when you lie down, you can obviously lie down and meditate. That's also a completely different experience. So I quite often in the evenings when I meditate myself, I walk a little before, and then I stand still and just stand and observe what's happening, and then I sit down. And then after I sit down, I stand up for a little while before I actually finish my meditation. It's a good way of bringing it up from the cushion, because the goal we're trying to do is to bring this awareness into our daily lives. And then it really helps to try standing, sitting, lying, like all kinds of things to see how that changes. So, like I said, get into whatever position you find comfortable. And I think, should we start with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method again? We'll just do that for today. So first off, together with me, you can name 5 things around you. You can just do it at the same time as I'm doing it. So name 5 things that you can see, and it's good to say it out loud, or at least to yourself say it. So I see a wardrobe, I see a camera, I see a pair of headphones, there's a light, and I see a computer. Wait, was that 4 or 5? Let's do an extra one. There's a thermos in front of me. Second one is we do 4 things that we can touch. So I can touch this wooden sofa. I can touch a wet spot here from my tea that I spilled. I can touch the warmth of my cup. And I can touch this fabric here from the stick that I ring the bell with. And then after that, you take 3 things that you can hear. So I can hear the fan of the computer. I think I can hear from the speakers, there's a kind of sound. Let's see, what else can I hear? There's a sound outside. I think it's either the wind or there's a light drizzle on the windows. After you've done 3 things we can hear, then we go on to 2 things that we can smell. I can smell I can smell my tea that I just drank. And I can smell myself because I've been working today, so I smell a bit of sweat. I can smell that. And then the last one, we do 1 thing that we can taste. I can taste a bit of chocolate, because I had some dark chocolate before. When the kids were done eating, I snuck away and took a bit of dark chocolate. So when you're done with that, just close your eyes and we start the meditation. So as you close your eyes and you start bringing your awareness to your breath, start observing breath as it comes in and goes out. There's no need to feel the actual sensations of the breath. We're just trying to be aware of breath happening as you're breathing in and breathing out. When we're doing this meditation, we're trying to not control our breath. Instead, we're trying to let breath happen by itself in whatever tempo it wants to happen. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it might be a little bit faster. Sometimes it's shallow. Sometimes it's deep. Just observe what your breath is doing right now. And let breath happen by itself. And to make it easier to not have our thoughts drift away and to gain our concentration, we're going to start by counting our breaths. And the way that we'll do that is that we're going to count from 1 to 8 and then down from 8 to 1. So together we'll count, breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in and breathing out. 5. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in and breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 8. Breathing in and breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in and breathing out. 5. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 1. And just continue counting your breath, going from 1 to 8 and then down from 8 to 1 in whatever tempo your breath is keeping. As you're observing yourself, breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. remember to be forgiving towards yourself. Especially in the beginning of the meditation, it can be extra difficult to stay with the breath. But ask yourself, is it okay if you just spend the next 20 minutes on observing your breath and leave all the things you need to do until after that? Leave all the thinking and analyzing about what you've done before until after that. And just stay with the breath as you observe yourself breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. When you're observing the breath, instead of observing it as a cycle of breathing in and breathing out, see if you can make small slices of now as you're breathing. Instead of thinking it as in and out, just think of breath happening. So it would be breath, breath, breath. And then there's a pause. And there's breath, breath, breath as you're breathing out. Then there's usually a longer pause before you start your in-breath again. And just observe these small slices of time. Observe these small slices of your breath. And it might even feel a bit staccato in the beginning, almost like your awareness is stuttering. Just observe these small slices of time as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. might feel a bit strange, a bit unusual in the beginning to observe these small slices of now. And you might ask yourself, how long is a slice of now? The way that you determine that is by observing it and simply try to make it shorter. Try to not push or pull against the past. Try to not push or pull towards the future. See if you can observe this moment without any pressure, without any tension, without any distortion towards what happened or what you believe will happen in the future. And if you can keep on observing these small slices of now, you might just eventually find that the slices altogether disappear. And you will be observing now. Not a slice of now, but just now. As you're breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. If you suddenly find yourself counting 15, 16, 35, 40, just start over again. The goal is not to see how many times you can go from 1 to 8 or down from 8 to 1. The only goal, the only thing that we're trying to achieve here is to keep coming back to these slices of now, just over and over and over again, coming back to your breath and observing breath happening, stillness of breath happening, and then breath happening again as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. we're observing the breath, try to keep your awareness as wide as possible. We're observing breath happening, and see if you can feel your entire body at the same time. We're not aiming for one sharp, small point. We're aiming for a field of awareness of our entire body as we're breathing. We're sharpening our senses so we will be aware of what's happening inside of us. The breath is just the vehicle, the tool that we're using to focusing our mind, to focusing on our awareness of what's happening inside of us in this small slice of now. So as you observe your breath, see if you can widen your awareness without pressure, without cramps, without even trying, but just doing, being aware of as much as possible of your body as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. And as usual, if you want, you can just keep on meditating. You can start opening up your eyes, becoming aware. And I'm open to any questions if you have any. Did anyone try doing the slices of breath instead of breath as a cycle? And if so, what was your experience doing that? Mindful Mama is saying, wow, that moment-to-moment awareness made up of slices, or how did you call it, was so interesting. Yes, Mindful Mama did. Barely awesome. I can't tell sometimes if I'm in the present. Sometimes I feel like I'm in a foggy now. I tried the slices and it was still a bit foggy. It is hard to describe. Feels different though. Yes. So the thing is with time, this is something that time is such an interesting thing to discuss, and I have a little bit of a different way of discussing it and describing it because I'm very pragmatic, and I base everything off of what I observe rather than what I want to interpret. So there's a lot of people who say time doesn't exist. I would say that that is a belief. What I would say is that our experience of time, the way we normally experience it, is simply not true. It's false. It's a misconception. And when people then realize that and they see that for themselves, they say, oh, time doesn't exist. But the way it works is that, or at least the way I've observed it, is that when you're observing the breath as a whole cycle, you're kind of stretching this distortion, this tension, this friction or pressure that I talk about. You squeeze yourself out, say this is the time that you're in right now and it's moving along, but you're constantly creating tension towards the past and the future. So just by having the feeling of a cycle of breath, you're not actually in the now. So when I try to get you to do slices of now, what I'm forcing you in a way to do is to kind of truncate your awareness, to narrow that down. Like, so if we see time as a line and we're moving on that line, it would more seem like we're just this point moving, and our awareness, the way we experience time most of the time, is that it's wide. So we're kind of feeling this whole stretch of time. But when we meditate, that tends to go down and become narrower and narrower. And if you pop into what I call non-centricness or non-duality, then that collapses, and all of a sudden there's no slice of now. It's just this infinitesimally small moment of now that you're experiencing. So it seems like time does exist. It's just that our perception is so skewed by this distortion, this pushing and pulling, so we're not actually observing this moment. And by doing this exercise of observing these slices of now, we can make that whole thing collapse. I know in non-duality they say that you should not think of time. In other words, they make the thought the most important thing. And I think that it can work, but it's much more efficient and easy to actually feel this, because the problem is not the thought. I can still think, oh, I know it's a cycle, and that doesn't create time. What creates time is this pressure that I create towards the past and the future. In other words, feeling it as a whole circle instead of just slices. Let's see what we write here. It was really nice. I kind of lost awareness of my body. It felt like it was bending in a strange way. My awareness went back and forth between observing and being in my thoughts. The slices brought, let's see what else, my very easy back to the present. It went from slices into a soft just being. Yes, exactly, Mindful Mama. But whenever I started thinking about it, I lost that feeling again. Yes, that's the thing, because when you start thinking, then you create this tension again. You want to, I want to understand this. It's not that there's anything wrong with thinking about it, but you start creating tension towards this experience of time. Esperanza is then writing, there is a Zen koan, I believe, that goes something along the line of, it's not the left that moves. It's not the leaf that moves, is your busy mind. And I wondered if maybe the movement of the leaves will be perceived different. Yes, absolutely. Well aware. That's the whole thing. You see, I have a hard time noticing my breath without control. Being conscious of my breath makes me feel as if I have control over it. Okay, and that's the thing also with letting breath happen, that when you are just in the now, like now, breath is just happening. There's no one controlling anything, and it can even be a bit scary. And this is why a lot of people believe everything is predestined, because when you experience non-centricness or non-duality, it doesn't feel like you are there. It doesn't feel like you are actually controlling anything. Things are just happening effortlessly. And I have a theory about this as well. And this, again, I try to not make beliefs or interpretations. And if I say anything, I've emphasized that this is not truth. This is just a hypothesis of how it could be, and it's completely irrelevant. I believe that what happens when you stop distorting and you just collapse into the now is that you're no longer struggling. So there's no longer this conflict that we're so used to. We're so used to, I'm going to pick up this cup, and I kind of create a tension, and I know in my mind what a cup feels like. I know in my mind how warmth feels like. I know in my mind that I might burn myself. So I create all this pressure just to do this moment. But when I'm just in this slice of now that's collapsed into nothingness, into just now, I don't have that. So everything feels effortless. It doesn't feel like I'm doing anything. Things are just happening. But I'm obviously still the one. Obviously, control is coming from here somehow. So it could simply be that what's happening is we are functioning so... people talk about being in the flow state, right? That's what they do when they do exercises or run or do some kind of competition. That's exactly what it is. They're not distorting towards the past or the future. They're just doing, and it feels so effortless. And the leaf, as I think it was Esperanza that said that, the leaf will be, everything is beautiful, because you no longer have a distortion. Oh, it's just a leaf. I know what that is. You're observing a falling leaf just as a child would observe a falling leaf. I so remember my first child, my daughter. We had a hammock out here, and we had birches that we were lying underneath, and she was lying on my stomach, and she was watching the leaves of the trees, and I was just swinging, and I could see her eyes going. She was just like this, completely mesmerized by the leaves and the light shining through, and I looked up, and I was, wow, she's absolutely right. The leaves are beautiful. It's amazing to observe these leaves. And by being with someone who actually is in a state of non-distortion, it tends to help you get there as well, which is why when someone describes these states, even me just talking about it now might help you kind of get into that state. And it happens many times when I do coaching that I talk to people and we discuss something, and then they all of a sudden just pop into non-duality or non-centricness, because you can kind of, there are qualities to these states that you can, by focusing on them, make yourself go there. Very soft and nice. Yes, the feeling of not being there is liberating. It's called liberation for a purpose. Yeah, I love talking about this stuff. It's actually one of the things that I have a hard time deciding what to do with my channel, because I can talk about just normal meditation, and I have a lot of experience in that. But what we're talking about now, this is what I'm really interested in. It's just that YouTube doesn't have a category for that. So YouTube is high. There is a reason why my channel is small. It's not because I don't know how to make videos or like talk about what I talk about. It's that I don't have a niche. If I would call myself non-dual presence awareness, then I would get many more views. Or if I would say I'm into law of attraction or into spirit guides, that would make it a lot easier. But I have my own way of viewing this, and I need to decide how to discuss it, because I believe there's so much more here when we drop away all these beliefs and all these thoughts that it has to be a certain way and just start observing. Just stop trying to become something different and actually become who we are. See what we see here. And I could also really feel where I had a feeling of distortion just now. Not in my stomach, whereas I can feel strong sensations, but in my hips, yeah, sure. Like my hips were into motion to go somewhere, yes. So when we move, there is a feeling of, like, I'm tensing to go somewhere. That's this distortion. I'm trying to go away somewhere. And when you collapse that, again, it's just as if though I'm sitting here effortlessly. If you're in a state of now, there's no need to go anywhere. You're just sitting here and just feeling the cold air on my skin right now is very interesting, very pleasant actually. Just hearing the sounds and just seeing the lights, everything becomes interesting in and of itself, because there's not this tension of, oh, I know what this is plastic here, and this is just wallpaper here, this is a microphone, and that's metal. When you don't, again, it's not about having the concept. I can still mentally understand this is a microphone. I don't get dumb. It's not like I lose my mind. I lose the feeling of what a microphone is. And this is again why I think so many people come at this the wrong way, because we give so much emphasis to the mind, that the mind is important, our thoughts are important. They're not really that important. It's the distortion, tension, pressure that the thoughts create. That's the real issue here. I never felt it so clear. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, I'll try to do more of these like slices, and there are quite a few other techniques to make this easier, and ways that you can view this. And we can do it just with meditations like this, but then also the whole idea is that you do this meditation to raise your awareness and ability to focus on what's happening, and then you bring that into daily life. That's the whole point, because even when I was sitting as a monk, it's difficult to get more than 15 hours of meditation per day. It really becomes almost, I'm not going to say impossible, but 15 hours per day, that's kind of where I would say. After that, it gets really difficult to get more, and that still leaves another 4 hours where I'm not in official meditation, where I'm sitting or walking. So it is difficult to do more. So you need to bring this awareness into your daily life and start observing these things, just seeing throughout the day, can I notice these slices of now? And there are, like I said, a lot of ways that we can do this. So I'm very happy to hear that you guys appreciated that, and that it's something that I'll focus a bit more on. Any other thoughts on that? Did I sway away too far from what we normally do? I also want to keep it accessible. I don't want to get it too complicated, because for someone who's never meditated or haven't gone in these thoughts, this might be a bit too much to start with. It's not something you would do just as the first time you meditate. It's not that you couldn't, but it might be too much to wrap your mind around to begin with. I should also say that the reason we do this is because when you are here, there is joy. There is a sense of like awe or just appreciation for being alive, instead of this constant, oh, I need to go somewhere, constant, I need to be somewhere else, constant becoming something, and you just are. So there is a very good reason for doing this. Thank you. I had a meditation with a group of people a while ago, and wow, that's really being in the now. We're just stopping at end. Barely Awesome is asking, how can I be more mindful in conversation with others? I do this one thing, Barely Awesome. When I have a conversation with others, I try to not focus on what I'm going to say or even what they are saying. I focus on my tension, my distortion towards what they're saying. So even when I'm sitting here now, I'm just observing, do I have any tension or distortion towards something you're saying? Do I feel, oh, I need to prove something? I'm afraid that you'll say something, or like, do I feel any distortion? And if I feel that, I let go of that and I just listen. That will bring you into a state of just being open. And when you're just there and don't have all these tensions or judgments, you could say it also, you really become mindful in a conversation, and people just love talking to people who are like this. My children love me so much more when I'm not trying to judge them or make an opinion on what they're doing. I'm just there listening to them. And you can still talk and say things, but you're not sitting waiting, oh, I need to say this. Oh, and you're just waiting for your turn. So just bring your awareness and observe this distortion, this tension, and say, can you let go of that? Can you, no matter what they say, don't try to think out the perfect thing to answer or try to think if they're right or wrong. Just see if you can let go of any distortion you have. It's their belief. They're entitled to their belief. Esperanza, during the meditation, I had a realization that I am too hard on myself and I should be more forgiving. Yeah, we all should. It's one of the reasons why I quite often talk about that. I even had one of my coaching students that I made a private guided meditation just for this, because it's very easy to be tough on ourselves, especially in our meditation, because we believe I should be able to observe my breath the whole time. I should be able to do this. I should not have these thoughts, or I should. And it is difficult. So yeah, being more forgiving is very important. One of my students became really clear and dizzy. She was almost high. I was almost worried. Yes, that happens sometimes, because when there's a lot of things that can happen kind of when you get really present, but it can also be people sometimes, what they do is they start hyperventilating if they try to control their breath, but more common is that they restrict their breath, or they kind of stop breathing, because when we get really deep into concentration and become very relaxed, the breath seems like it's not happening. It's almost, there's just really shallow breath, and sometimes I'm like, there's no way. Because you know that your air pipes, before it comes down to the lungs, there's still air trapped here. So when you breathe in and out, there has to be a certain amount of movement for air to actually move in and out. And I just don't see how it's physically possible for breath, fresh air to come into my lungs when I'm sitting still and breathing. It's just, I don't get that, but it does. And there are some, I remember when I was really into concentration meditation, there were certain books that said that when you really get into these deep jhanas, you stop breathing, and you can stop breathing for several hours. You just, maybe not, they didn't say hours, I can't remember, several minutes, you just sit there in stillness. And I have found myself just realizing, oh crap, I'm not breathing. And you kind of get panicked because you realize that you're not breathing. So, sorry, that's what I was getting to. I forgot why I was saying all of that. It can create some strange things, and especially when you become present, if you have a lot of tension, it can make you feel almost high, because wow, everything is so amazing and everything is so wonderful, and you think, I got it, I figured it out. Now, from now on, this is going to be how I experience reality all the time, because you think you figured something out, and it lasts for a few minutes, and then it's gone. And then you need to look at this and see, how can I bring this awareness to become more of a constant way of observing life. She would get a psychosis. Do you think this is possible? If someone gets a psychosis from observing their breath, that was not the problem. Then they had underlying issues before, and a psychosis is a word that I think people throw around a lot, but a psychosis is like that's a really serious thing that doesn't just randomly happen like that. Generally speaking, that there's some, she would have had issues before. Meditation can bring up a lot of weird things, and especially when you get into the more intensive meditation, that brings with it a lot of difficult things as well, because it's not a gradual progression like this. You just sit and you become more and more mindful, and then eventually you just liberate it. It's a lot of like this. You have to face all those difficult things as well. So if someone got a I'm just assuming that you didn't sit with them for 10 hours or something like that over the course of several days. I'm assuming it was something a bit shorter than that. And then, no, that would not have caused it unless she was already in it or close to it or something like that. I can't see how that could happen. Interesting conversations, and I really enjoy talking about this stuff, and I could talk about it the whole time. And I'm glad you guys enjoy it and find it useful, because I think it's really what that's the whole point. We need to. We're doing this because we want to feel more joy. We want to feel more present. We want to feel more aware. And instead of trying to become this other person that is not us, or this other being in some other lifetime, or observing other things, I'm not saying those things aren't possible or that they're even wrong. I'm just saying what I'm trying to do is become more me, more here, more what you are, not all these other things or beliefs. Just what are you observing right now? Happy to hear that, mindful mama. I think it's about time to go to bed. And when you get up from the cushion, if you're sitting down now, try to see if you can just sit still and just spend like 1 minute or just a little bit feeling this breath again. Just do that. And then when you get up, just do it slowly and try to stand up a little bit and see, can you let go of all that tension and just observe these slices just a little bit, and then start moving around in your home. Here it's in the evening, it's 9 o'clock in the evening. But just try to bring that as you're walking around and see, it's going to fade out, and don't be hard on yourself if you do, because it does. That's just how it is. But just prolong this awareness a little bit after we sit. You're welcome, Mindful Mama. It's nice to have you here. I will see everyone on Thursday, and we'll see what we do then. Thank you.